So Mezco has finally released Snake Eyes, arguably the most popular member of G.I. Joe. What's funny is that I had a pretty extensive collection of G.I. Joe when I was a kid, um, and I never owned a Snake Eyes, so it's kind of weird. I had a Storm Shadow, I had a Destro, I had a Roadblock, but I did not have Snake Eyes. So this is a really, really awesome looking figure. Of course, it has the special Mezco cloth costume rather than an all plastic figure. I don't think there's any other figure maker creating G.I. Joe figures. Well, no, I take that back. But in this scale, in the 1/12 scale. So, and of course, it has the Mezco level of quality. So we'll take a good look at it. Fortunately, they did not go with the look that the very unfortunate look that Snake Eyes had in the second live-action movie, The Rise of Cobra, where his in the mask here, it was kind of molded into his face, and it looked terrible. So this is the classic look. It's also the look in the second live-action movie, and pretty much, as far as I know, everything except Rise of Cobra. This I don't know what it calls sash or whatever is a separate piece, but it is very tight on here. And I did discover yesterday that it kind of snaps in here, and so you could remove it theoretically. I don't know if it snaps in the front. Here is where he could put his sword. Okay, so I just removed it. So it comes off fairly easily. The belt is free floating. Anyway, you could put his sword scabbard in here, although it was pretty tight. I didn't love it, and I've decided to go without it. These pieces here on his thighs are free floating, although this is attached up here. So, and what was interesting is that Roadblock also had these, but they were removable, and I had to attach it, whereas this is like permanently attached. So that's fine. But everything feels very nice and snug. His pants are a bit loose, which is cool. I like the loose fitting, so it's tight up here, loose fit here. This is a different feel fabric up here, and then this is like a rubber. Does not come with any alternate heads, because what alternate head would they include? I can't imagine. So I'll put him here. Also comes with, oh, by the way, I love this box. I love all of these boxes from Mezco. They evoke the classic Hasbro look from the 1980s. In fact, I'm not sure if these images aren't from the 80s. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is his Timberwolf friend. Kind of like with the SH Monster Arts from Bandai, the articulation is more theoretical than reality, because I mean, it can swing here, but it really doesn't do much. So it's, I don't know, it's not the greatest. I think the facial sculpt looks really good. But yeah, it's a bit limited, but I really didn't care that much about Timberwolf anyway. This one does come with alternate heads, so he's got the angry look, and then he's got the really angry look, barking look. So the figure comes with a ton of extras, which is very cool. So we have 2 swords with scabbards. We have a knife and a scabbard. I'm not sure what this is, maybe dynamite or something. Some kind of effect, probably for his gun. He has a Uzi with a clip, a pistol with another clip, and several blades. So you can do all sorts of different posing with him. I don't think this... Does this pull out? Yeah, it does pull out. Okay. And the clip... not sure if... Oh, the clip... Okay, clip comes out. Which makes sense since there's a spare clip. Okay. Then we have 6 throwing stars, 2 varieties, 6 throwing knives, and 6 hand grenades. It's a mystery to me, and this is certainly not the first time I've seen this figure. I'm not sure what people do with this stuff because these figures, as far as I know, are not meant to be played with. On the box, it even says it's 18 and over. I mean, I get it. You could pose him with a sword. You could pose him with two swords. You could pose him shooting his Uzis. You could pose him all sorts of different ways. But why would you need six throwing stars? Unless throwing knives, unless their thinking is that people inevitably lose them, and so if you've got a whole ton of them, you will have backup. Or you could just, I don't know, array them around his feet. I don't really understand it, but I mean, if they want to give a whole ton, then that's their business. It is a three-sectional staff, which I think is really, really neat. And of course, everything here is plastic. So even if it looks like, well, actually, I think these little hoops here are metal. I'd say those are metal. That's about it. Very little metal used in Mezco. We have some gimmicks. So you could attach this with him throwing three throwing stars. And then this one, you could attach this, and it's him throwing what looks to be a smoke grenade. So that's kind of cool. I always pose my figures in a neutral stance. One of the problems, and I made this mistake one time, was I had the figure of Captain Kirk, and he has the captain's chair. So I put him in the captain's chair and had him sitting there. And the problem is, so if he's in the captain's chair, his legs are all, up like this, sitting in the chair. And over time, it created a crease here. And I'm sure I could iron it out, but that is the problem with a cloth outfit and putting them in anything but a neutral position, because over time it will get folds and whatnot. And so I'm sure, this rubber would create a permanent fold. Rubber would be harder if it created a fold, because you may not be able to iron that out. So that's why I always put my figures in a neutral stance, just standing there. All the gimmicks tend to go right in a box and stored away. The one thing I will note that I've seen this in just about every Mezco figure is you could see the kind of erratic stitching here. My assumption has always been that these are machine made, and then at some point a human being comes in here and then probably puts the outfit on and stitches it up. And so I don't know this for a fact, but I think it is pretty cool if there is human involvement in there. And the price reflects that. These are more expensive than an all plastic figure, and I think deservedly so. I think they look gorgeous on the shelf. And I'm really, really, really loving my G.I. Joe collection. And I mentioned before that I had actually considered not even collecting this line, but I eventually did, and I'm really happy with it. So here are 7 alternate hands. So he could be doing all sorts of different things, depending on what you want. So Mezco has announced 6 different G.I. Joe figures so far. They've released 3. They had announced all 6 over time prior to when the first one was released, which was Destro. And so I'm hoping that we will soon get more announcements, because I would hate to think that they might stop at 6, particularly since there are some really crucial characters which have yet to be created by Mezco. In particular, Cobra Commander. That seems like a no-brainer, but there are other ones too that I'm hoping for. So I own also Roadblock and Destro, and then I believe the next one that's scheduled to come out is Firefly, and then we have Storm Shadow, and finally in the summertime, Duke. So that's a ways away, but Firefly was scheduled to be released between December and February, so we're at near the end of February right now as I film this, so hopefully that will be coming out soon. In fact, that was actually, even though announced after Storm Shadow, or I mean Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes somehow managed to get out first, but I am looking forward to Firefly, and I'm looking forward to the announcement of more GI Joe figures because this is a really really neat lineup. And I have not been disappointed with any of the figures. And this is probably the nicest one yet. It really looks really slick, like a small soft statue. Really gorgeous. So this is Snake Eyes by Mezco in their 112 collective series.